The NFL draft is approaching quick, and with so many options, so many great players, I think it's time that we cover what are some of the best options for the Chargers with the 21st overall pick. And in specific, these are my 8 favorite options for the Chargers in the first round. From speedy wideouts to big tight end targets, and even some other options like safety, linebacker, edge. All these options are so much to pick from, so I'm going to be covering my 8 favorite players. But before we get into that, I have a question for you guys. Who do you want to see the Chargers draft with their 21st overall pick? Comment down below and explain why you want that guy. How will they make an immediate impact, and how will they make a long-term impact for this Chargers team? So comment down below, and let's go ahead and get right into the video, and let's break everything down. Now, before we get to my top 8, there is a need for an honorable mention. And there was quite a few guys, but I think I just need one honorable mention, and that is going to be Jalin Hyatt. Now, Jalin Hyatt is a really, really good option for me, and potentially could be a pick that I'd be willing to make, but I have a feeling that he's going to fall a little bit. Maybe into the second round, maybe he'll even be available for the Chargers in the second round, but his combine results weren't exactly what you were hoping for. He didn't get that speed, the sub 4.3 that everyone was kind of predicting he was going to be able to get, and his combine results overall weren't great. And because of that, he fell out of my top 8, and he would be a fair option. I wouldn't be too upset, but I'm leaning more towards if he's available in second, take him. Otherwise, he's not a need for the Chargers. Now that we have covered my honorable mention, let's go ahead and get to the list. Now, there is actually an order to this, something I normally don't do. We're going from 8 down to 1. And the first guy I want to cover here is going to be Trenton Simpson, linebacker out of Tennessee. Now, I'm not exactly sure how to feel about Simpson. I think he can bring a whole lot to your team. He's a big guy, and honestly, he looks like, if you're lined up against him, you might be a little bit worried to see him. And although he showed some great numbers with 72 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, all in 12 games, he also hasn't shown a great ability in some of the other things. As the game progresses, other things haven't shown through. On the other side of things, he kind of reminds me of Kenneth Murray, K9. And although I am a big fan of K9, there are still some worries related to him. And why do I think that Simpson is close to K9? First, it seems like his reads aren't always excellent. Sometimes he gets washed out. Sometimes he misses openings in the gap where he could shoot it and make a play, and he just seems to, at times, miss those. And he's not great at shedding a block. When people are able to move up to his level, he doesn't always get away, and he kind of gets stuck in the way. Another reason why he is so low on my list, although he brings, a high level ability, and I think he has talent. I think he has some raw skill that could really work for him. The Drew Tranquill situation is why he's so low. I don't know what's going to happen with Drew Tranquill. Free agency has not occurred at the time of this recording, and we're not sure if it's going to be Tranquill, Pipkins, or if it's going to be either of them. If Pipkins goes out, I might be willing to take a little bit of bid on a guy like Trenton Simpson in the first round if others aren't available. But I got to see a little bit more. Maybe the Chargers have seen that behind the scenes, but I don't really want 2 Kenneth Murrays out in the field. You need a guy that can be really, really good in coverage. That's what Drew Tranquill can do for you. This is an option, but only if Tranquill's gone. That's why he is my 8th spot on this list. Now, the next spot, number 7, is going to be Zay Flowers. Flowers was a guy that was really, really high, maybe even number 1 on my list just a few weeks ago, but he underperformed at the combine. Similar to your guy up here in Jalin Hyatt, his numbers were not as great, and especially in that 40 time. We were really hoping for 4.3 or high numbers. Not quite the level that you were hoping for, though, when he actually took these numbers, and because of that, he has kind of slipped down my board a little bit. He shows great speed when he's on the field, and he's shown a great ability, and I think pairing him with a guy like Justin Herbert could excel him. We've seen Herbert already make guys like Tyron Johnson and Jalen Guyton step up well above what their ceiling appeared to be, and I think you could do that with a guy like Zay Flowers. But the thing is, he seemingly is a little bit hit or miss in some aspects of his game that are really, really important, especially his catching ability. At times, he makes some crazy catches that it definitely doesn't seem like he's going to be able to make, and at other times, on a simple pitch and catch, he just drops it with no one in his face. That is a really, really big worry for me, especially for a Chargers team that last year was near the bottom of the league in dropped passes. They were dropping so many. You don't need another guy that could be a liability for you. And I think that's what Zay Flowers could do. I see a lot of potential. He could be a number one wide receiver, but I'm just not so sure, and that's why he is lower on my list. But with some help from a guy like Keenan Allen to help him with his hands, and the fact that he's very dynamic and has a very shifty frame, he could be a really good pick, just not high enough on my list for me. Now the next guy here, a favorite to a lot of Chargers fans and a favorite of mine, but he's low because I don't know if he is a necessity. That's going to be Bijan Robinson. Now, he had a great year. He also had a great combine experience, but Robinson looks like a potential top 5 best talent in this draft and is well deserving of a first-round draft pick, but maybe not a first-round draft pick for the Chargers. That's kind of where I lie. Even with that, Robinson could completely transform an offense, and especially the Chargers' run game that has struggled for a couple years now. Austin Eckler is an excellent to elite level running back, and Robinson paired with him could also be an elite level running back, could take everything off of Eckler in the future. As Eckler gets older, Robinson could take that number one role. He could bring a whole lot to your team. I'm just not so sure if the Chargers need to do that. Now, if we look at some of his numbers here, he brings in 1,580 rushing yards and 18 scores in his last year with Texas. He is a very, very good scoring threat out of the backfield, which is something that Herbert could definitely use. And although I'm questioning taking a running back in round 1, it's hard not to look at how talented he is and think, man, it could really make a big difference for this offense. But there are some other options. Now, if he does fall, which I don't see him falling, that's another part why he's kind of lower. I don't really see him falling. If he does, I'm definitely willing to take a risk on him at 21. Huge fan of him. I think he would make a dramatic difference, but I really don't see him falling. And alongside that, even with some great numbers, I think Kelly has what it takes to be a really solid RB2 and fill that role. That's why I think you don't have to use a first-round pick, even on a guy that has this much talent. You don't really have to use a first-round pick on him because you have Kelly, you have Eckler, they can work. And if you can just kind of get some stuff working offensively with a brand new coach and you can really start to get things going in the right direction without using the first-round draft pick on a running back. You could use it on wide receiver, you could use it on a tight end, you could use it on edge, safety, whatever it may be. I'm not sure you have to use it on a running back. Now, if he does slide, I'm very happy with this pick. Just not my favorite option. That's why he sits at 6 for me. Now, next guy here is a guy that wasn't fully on my radar, at least not at this level, but his combine results definitely jumped him. That's going to be Nolan Smith, edge out of Georgia. He ran a 4.39 40 as an edge. That's insane, and you can't overlook that. Now, with Mac's contract being very, very large, him getting older, Joey Bosa dealing with some injuries, I think taking an edge in the first round is not out of the realm of possibility. Chris Rumph hasn't showed a whole bunch for you, and even if that, you could bring in a guy like Nolan Smith, even in the first round, to be a backup for a year under Mac, and then if you move on from Mac next year due to contract reasons, trying to figure out Herbert and how he's going to fit into things, I could see moving on from Mac, and Smith would be an excellent guy, and he could start right away for most teams in the league, but maybe not the Chargers. Now, Smith did deal with some injuries, a torn pectoral muscle this past year, and that also could be a reason why you kind of stray away from him as a Chargers, because you're already dealing with Bosa. You don't really want to deal with Bosa, and then, maybe Smith's injury reemerges. Now you're back to just Mac and Rumph anyways. That could be another reason, but with how much potential he has. The speed, he has strength, he has, maybe not the best footwork, but he can really, really be something. I'm not going to be surprised if he is to become a top line edge rusher in this entire league. But because of the injury and, because of the fact that you have Mack and Bosa, I could see the Chargers maybe waiting on edge for the later rounds. That's why he's at 5, although I think what he brings, especially with that speed, is just absolutely insane. And if it wasn't for Bosa and Mack, he would definitely be higher on my list. Next guy here, a guy that was like my number one option like a month ago, has slowly started to slip. And although he's sitting at 4, I could still see him falling a little bit, and that's going to be tight end Michael Mayer. Of course, out of Notre Dame. Now, Mayer showed to be an incredible tight end, and to me is the most immediate pro-ready tight end. I think bringing him to the Chargers would make a more of an immediate impact than any other tight end. And he showed some great numbers. The past 2 seasons, Mayer led all FBS tight ends with 138 catches, 1,649 yards, and 16 touchdowns. And he brings a solid amount of external usage as well. He's going to absorb contact. He's going to absorb, eyes as well, and maybe give you more of the opportunities with Keenan, Mike Williams, guys like that. But he's also a solid blocker. Maybe not elite, maybe not poor, and I know some people are lower on him than I am, but I think he's a good option for you, and he feels like a real plug-and-play talent. And I see a lot of, like Kittle, and although he didn't perform great in the Combine, he's shown on the field, as you can see in this photo right here, that he has the physical capabilities to make big-time plays. And he has a very big catch radius. At 6'4", 265, he brings some good size, he can use that in the blocking. He can high point balls. But, the fact is, maybe, at least not to me at this current moment, may not be the best tight end. Now, I will say for Mayer, Chargers have dealt with a lot of blocks. We mentioned a little bit earlier. He only had 4 the past, I think, 2 years, maybe in his entire college career. Incredible hands on this guy, and he's not going to drop a whole lot. I could definitely see him climbing my board, climbing other people's boards, and I'm going to be so excited if they pick him up, even though he's my 4th option. Next guy here is going to be a wide receiver that I'm a big fan on. I am probably the biggest fan of this wide receiver, but I don't know if he's falling. I really don't think he's falling. That's going to be Quentin Johnson out of TCU. This guy brings so much talent, and I have seen him fall a couple times in mock drafts to the Chargers, but I'm not sure if he's going to fall. Now, I did put him at 3, but I'm really not sure if he's going to be there. Johnson at 21 for the Chargers would be a phenomenal pickup. And although he didn't run a 40 at the Combine, he brings a good level of speed similar to the level we saw at the Combine. He brings a really high level, and he could still break the top off of many defenses. And the fact is, at TCU, there definitely wasn't a quarterback that had an incredible arm to send it deep. I think you bring him to Justin Herbert, and Herbert can excel him way past expectations. Johnson brought in 1,069 yards and 6 touchdowns on TCU's run to the championship this past year. He can bring so much to this Chargers roster. He's got pretty much everything you need physically, and he does have a little bit of issues here at times. He has a low catch expectancy on deep balls. He drops a little bit more than you expect for what his frame is, and his routes maybe aren't the crispiest, but because you have a guy like Keenan Allen and you have a guy like Mike Williams, they excel. That pretty much their number one thing is each of those categories. If you can get him with Mike Williams to upgrade his catch ability in tough situations and bring him to Keenan to upgrade his route running, I think he could become a elite level wide receiver in this league, even if he is at 21. That's why he's 3 for me, because the potential for him, to me, is out of this world, and I think he could be so good and surpass both Mike and Keenan if things get rolling for him. Now, we're to the final two here, and both of these maybe a little controversial. Definitely number 2, I think, is controversial for some people, and that's going to be Brian Branch, safety out of Alabama. Now, I say it's controversial because, it is. Brian Branch has been around the Chargers for a long time, but to put him at 2 is a little bit crazy. Safeties do dominate Staley's defense. Derwin James has made a huge impact, and that's why I'm so high on Branch, because what safeties do for this defense. Derwin James became one of, if not the best safeties in the entire league because of how dynamic he is and how he is used in this defense. And I think Branch can do just that. Branch had 90 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 7 pass breakups. Similar to James, he showed he can guard nearly every position, from slot, wideout, speed wide receiver, and even tight end. Having him, with how diverse he is, along with Derwin James, could give you so many looks on this defense that it could really confuse the heck out of opposing teams. Because of that, what that could do for this entire team would just be insane. Branch paired with James could be a monster in this league, and likely could be the best safety pairing in the entire league. I think Branch would be an incredible option for the Chargers. But he is my second pick. My number 1 pick is the guy that just barely edged out Michael Mayer, and that's going to be Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah. He climbed a lot of people's boards these past couple weeks, especially mine. Kincaid has quickly climbed many boards to take the number 1 spot from Mayer, and he brings an immediate red zone target, which is something that's really important for the Chargers, who have struggled in the red zone at times. He hauled in 8+ touchdowns in all 4 years in college. That is incredible numbers. 8+ in all 4 years. Actually, he might have played 5 because of the COVID situation. I'm kind of confused how that still worked for college. But those are some great numbers. Along with that, Chargers fans know, and that maybe a little bit of weird of a stat, know how great a basketball-oriented player that converts to tight end can be in Antonio Gates. Dalton Kincaid is just that. Kincaid has only been playing football for a few years. His first year was as a senior because he was primarily a basketball player. He has already shown incredible potential, and because he's only played for so long, I think he can grow even higher. Now, I don't think he's as plug-and-play as Mayer, but I wouldn't be surprised if he came in and exploded right away and become an immediate impact for the Bolts. But because of his potential, because of him not playing so long, and what he already shows physically and his physical attributes and how great he does play when he's on the field, I have to put him at 1. He's an incredible guy, and I would lose my mind if they were to bring in Dalton Kincaid, or honestly anyone on this list. Now, these 8 players are my favorite options and are all great options, but there are many more players that could fall to the Chargers at 21, or if the Chargers decide to move up or down in the draft, there are so many other options. So, who do you hope the Chargers draft at 21? Who do you want? Is it someone on my list, or is it someone that's not on my list? And if it is someone not on my list, please tell me a little bit about them, because I'm trying to get as much information about this year's draft as I can, and I do need your guys' help. And if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. It truly means the world to me, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. But as always, I hope you touched them today. Hope you made a smile. Hope you laughed. Something really important to me. Affects someone's day in a great way, because every single day can be a great day if you all just put in the effort. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.